So, hi everyone. I think everyone can hear me. If maybe you can just put a thumbs up or something in the Q&A or the chat that everyone can hear okay, that'd be great. Perfect. Looks like we are. Excellent. Okay. So thanks everyone for joining today. My name is Charlie Penson. I'm certainly excited to be here spending time with you guys this evening. I know everyone's kind of probably getting a little stir crazy being in quarantine. I hope everyone out there is staying safe and healthy. But today we wanted to talk a little bit about ReWalk, the Personal 6.0 system. I also wanted to thank Joe. I think Joe is on the call, Joe Salva, for organizing and obviously spreading the word about this webinar and getting the information out there so we can educate more people about what we do at ReWalk and the resources that are available. So a little background on me. I have been working in the neuro rehab industry for, gosh, it feels like forever now, but over 13 years. Most of that work has been done advocating on behalf of neuro patients and educating on technologies that are beneficial throughout the continuum of care for those neuro patients. So it's extremely rewarding to me to not only educate on various technologies that can be beneficial. Hello, can you guys hear me? I hear some background. So if you could mute your mics as you come on, that would be great. So yeah, so it's very rewarding to me to not only just educate on the various technologies that are available and beneficial, but I also love connecting people to resources, which can help with obtaining that kind of specialized and customized equipment that you need to continue your rehab journey. So we all know that financial impact of having a neurological condition can be challenging to navigate, but today we're going to explore a few resources and organizations that may be able to assist with some of that burden. So today we're going to discuss some of the following topics. We want to talk about a little bit about the company. I guess you probably wonder, like, who is ReWalk Robotics? So we want to share like what we do and who we are. What is the ReWalk? Who is a good candidate for the ReWalk? And what are some of the benefits you can expect if you do start using one? The process for being evaluated. Some of the resources that can be beneficial for obtaining a ReWalk or other things, obviously, for that matter, that you might need. And what happens when you do become a ReWalk. And I wanted to share a quick story about the gentleman in the photo here, because I think this is a great photo. And this is Matthew. And Matthew he's in the process of trying to acquire a ReWalk device for personal use. But this photo was pretty powerful to me because the young lady standing next to Matthew is his wife, who is also an OT. But this is the first time since his injury in 8 years that Matthew was able to hug his wife. So this was a very special moment for them. And their smiles certainly speak volumes to that as well. So for today, we'll have some time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation. But I wanted to encourage you guys to type your questions and answers in the Q&A section as we're going along. And I'll see them at the end and make sure I answer everyone. So please, if you think of anything as things pop up, just type them in there and we'll address them at the end. So who is ReWalk Robotics? I wanted to give a little background on the company because I think the story ties in well with our mission and who we are. ReWalk was developed by a physician who was also an inventor, and he became a quadriplegic after an ATV accident in 1997. ReWalk was first cleared for personal use by the FDA in 2014, and since then it has become our mission to fundamentally change the quality of life for individuals with lower limb disability through the creation and development of market-leading technologies. And when I take a step back and look at the roles everyone plays within our company, I consider our company as a group of engineers, clinicians, and advocates all working together really to change the lives of individuals with paralysis. And I think that's who we are. So just to give you guys a little insight there about what we are and what we do. So this is why we aim to create technologies that are suited for your mission as well. So pictured in this photo is ReWalker Terry Vereline. Terry is pictured crossing the finish line of the New York City Marathon last year in November. She walked 26.2 miles in her ReWalk, which is tremendous. And to date, I think she's walked, I think the slide needs updated. I think she's walked over 1 million or 1 million steps now in her ReWalk, which is amazing. And so also pictures with Terry on the right. The gentleman there is our CEO, Larry Jasinski. And Larry walked with Terry in the marathon as well, which I think speaks volumes to who we are as an organization. So we care about our ReWalkers. We do everything we can to support them along their rehab journey. And I think this is a good example of that. So I'm not sure how many of you may be familiar with ReWalk. So I wanted to share some information about the device and how it works. So ReWalk is a powered exoskeletal system. It uses motors at the hip and knee to enable individuals with SEI to stand upright, walk, and turn. ReWalk is customized to your unique body measurements, and I think this is a good point. So that means that we don't offer general sizing like a small, medium, and large sort of option. We take your unique measurements from your waist, from your hip to your knee, and from your knee to your ankle and accommodate the system to fit you. I think this is important because if you have a leg length discrepancy or changes in your height and weight, we can adjust and accommodate that down the track as things change, and you might change along the way. Also, the battery life of the ReWalk is 3 hours of continuous walking. And lastly, I think I mentioned it earlier, but ReWalk was cleared by the FDA for personal ownership and use at home and in the community in 2014. So over a decade now of users and research and information. So I wanted to share this video because it's before I play it, I just want to give you a little idea of what to look for. But you can kind of see here, there's several ReWalkers that I'll share some stories on, but you can kind of see from this just how you might incorporate ReWalk in the community. So I'll go ahead and play it, and then afterwards we'll talk about some of the people in the video. Sorry. So that is, all of our ReWalkers have tremendous stories and I think a unique journey. But if you saw the first couple in the video, that was Robert Wu and his wife Vivian. And Robert was an architect who was injured during 9/11. After Robert's accident, he suffered from depression. He was taking various medications to help manage pain and spasticity, as well as other secondary complications related to his accident. And after completing his ReWalk training, Robert noticed an increase in his muscle definition and a decrease in fat. He also reported being much more motivated and independent as a result of using the ReWalk. And lastly, he was able to decrease his medication intake, reducing his prescription costs from $400 a month to $10 a month, which is huge. Gene, the gentleman you saw at the end of the copying machine, Gene is actually a veteran who was injured as a result of a fall in 2001. And prior to using ReWalk, Gene was having to take 3 different medications to assist with his bowel program, and also taking 2 different pain medications 3 times per day, as well as 2 medications to manage spasticity. So Gene was doing a lot of medications. But since Gene has been using ReWalk, he has been able to taper his pain and spasticity management medication to 1 prescription. And he also completely tapered off of his medications for bowel management. Gene reported that he feels that ReWalk has increased his core strength and reduced his pain levels. His activity has gone through the roof, he says, and his self-esteem has gone up, which has also increased his motivation, which also equates to quality of life, which we kind of talked about a little bit earlier and what we really pride ourselves on. So I wanted to share who's a good candidate. Obviously, you guys are probably thinking, gosh, can this work for me, right? So what do you need to be able to be a ReWalker? One of the big things is hands and shoulders that can support the crutching. So good hand dexterity and shoulder stability is really important and key. Typically that relates to level T4 L through L5 SCI. There obviously can be some exceptions, but that's our big takeaway and what we kind of look for in level of injury is T4 through L5. Healthy bone density, no history of unhealed fractures, able to stand using a device such as a standing frame, and general good health, so no pressure sores or any other underlying health conditions, and a height between 5'3" and 6'2". And that can be, obviously, we're really looking at leg length, so that might be able to, if you have a really long torso, you may be able to fit into the ReWalk as well. And weight cannot exceed 220 pounds. And the main goals of a powered exoskeletal system are to restore ambulatory function, obviously using the robotic technology, reduce secondary medical complications, improve long-term outcomes, and improve quality of life. So those are the main things that we're looking to accomplish with using the ReWalk. I think these the concepts of the goals, we really kind of discussed with a couple of the ReWalkers and Robert and Jean in those stories, because those were basically the outcomes they experienced as well. And digging in a little bit more to the research, I just wanted to share this study. This is a study completed by the American Congress of Rehab Medicine in 2013. It was an observational cohort study, and I like the study because it gives you a large subject size, and typically with spinal cord, you don't really see that, but this looked at 951 subjects. They're all new traumatic spinal cord injuries, and they participated in a 1-year follow-up survey after discharge from 6 participating rehab centers. And mostly those were model SCI centers across the country. And the study measured occurrence of post-rehab rehospitalization rates within 1 year of injury, the length of the rehospitalization stays, and the cause of the rehospitalizations. And what was interesting, I think, is more than a third, which was 36.3%, were rehospitalized at least one time within the 12-month period. And the length of stay averaged 15.5 days, which is pretty lengthy. So what were the most common reasons for that? And that was basically the big 3 is what they call an UCI or a spinal cord injury, and that's UTIs, pneumonia, and pressure sores. And those are the big reasons for rehospitalizations. But I thought what was interesting about this study is it did note that participants who had more intensive physical therapy were more active had more or lower odds of rehospitalization rates. And I think this is where ReWalk can play a role for almost anyone that's appropriate. And that's because there's tons of evidence to support that exoskeletons can have a positive effect on cardiovascular health, bone density, and many other secondary complications facing the SCI community. So this statement kind of echoes what I said here, and this is Dr. Esquenazi, and he is the medical director at Moss Rehab. So it's just going to give you a little bit more information about some of the research that we kind of just discussed. Sorry guys, I just heard that you guys couldn't hear that, but basically he was saying that there were, I'm not sure why the audio didn't come through, but basically he was saying that Exoskeletons can help with cardiovascular and cardiorespiratory improvements, bone density improvements, everything we kind of just said. And I'm also going to sum up here in another slide. So I apologize that audio didn't come through. Let's see. So this is a summary of evidence of a lot of the research that's out there. So numerous clinical trials have repeatedly demonstrated that powered exoskeletons are highly effective for restoring ambulation and are safe for home and community use. But here you can see a quick snapshot that the literature also supports improvements in physical activity, bowel and bladder improvements, decrease in pain and spasticity, and improved sleep and quality of life. And a big thing is, if you're improving all these other things along the way, then quality of life is definitely something that's going to change over time. And I think you guys, like I said, we kind of heard a lot of these statements kind of resonate with Jean and Robert in their testimonials as well. And if any of you guys would like full text articles on any of this, I can certainly send that afterwards too. Just send me something in the Q&A and I'll be happy to shoot that over to you. So now that we've kind of looked at the premise and the rationale for why you might want to use a ReWalk device, I want to talk about the steps to becoming a ReWalker and what that process kind of looks like. So a ReWalk, once you've gone through the understanding and you've gotten all the information to understand this is something that might be a good tool for you, what are the next steps? So there are a few steps in the process, but our team does a great job of working with you and guiding you through each of them. The first is a phone screening, and this is a call with our clinical specialist, Karen Leventhal. I think Karen might be on the call, I'm not sure, but or you can call myself to gather some initial information. But just to make sure you're a good candidate and the goals and the reasons for obtaining a ReWalk align with what it will actually do for you. So during this call, we'll ask lots of questions about your medical history, and we'll also ask questions to decide which financial avenue we might be able to explore with you to obtain a ReWalk if you're a good candidate. And after you've gone through the phone screening, all the boxes are checked, we'll send you some patient information and a HIPAA form, which you can complete via DocuSign. And that's really simple. If you've never used DocuSign, it's all electronic. You just check a few boxes and it kind of dictates or like details where you would check those boxes and sign electronically. And then immediately that just comes back to us. And after that, after we receive that paperwork, we would just need a prescription for the trial. And we can help you with that, obtain that prescription from your physician, or you can do it directly. It's completely up to you. And then finally, we would set you up for a trial at one of our partner facilities for a clinic day. And now I think this is where we really do our due diligence to help you. So if that trial goes well and you really want to pursue a ReWalk, this is the next step. And that's really going through the process of getting through the funding piece. And the biggest thing I think that people want to explore, and the first thing that we kind of look at, is the insurance. Everybody wants to start there, of course, and we can certainly do that with you. And ReWalk does have a dedicated team that will submit all initial insurance requests. We can submit to all private insurance companies, and an example of a private insurance company would be Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna. Any of those are good resources. And the next thing we do after that, we'll do our best to submit that and get their request approved. So we use all our research and clinical data to support the rationale and the medical necessity of the ReWalk device on your behalf. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee of coverage. So in the event your insurance company denies the initial submission, our team will provide resources and help you with letters of support to appeal your denial. We can help you continue the process with letters of recommendation and anything that you think would be appropriate to get you through that process. And we can also work with your medical team on that as well. The only insurances we cannot submit to right now are Medicare and Medicaid. However, we can work with Medicare and Medicaid MCOs. So the best thing to do if you're unsure, because I know this can get confusing, is like, what's an MCO and what's private insurance? I think the best thing to do is to give us a call if you are interested, and we can work with you directly to find out if your insurance is something we can work with. And another thing, just one other thing to keep in mind is this insurance process can be lengthy. So it can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months to get to the final outcome. And I'm sure if you've gotten anything that's like specialized equipment or DME, you're probably already familiar with that. So I just encourage you to just hang in there with us, but also be persistent. The next thing on our list is workers' compensation insurance. We do have a very good success rate with workers' compensation. So if you have workers' comp, we will work with your workers' compensation adjuster, your medical team, your case manager, to provide all the medical documentation to prove medical necessity and efficacy. So we do all of that work for you, and we work with your team to just get everybody on board and on the same page with how that can work. Grants. The next thing I've had a lot of experience with in my past life, and even just recently, I've had a lot of families apply to grants to assist with part or all of the costs of their medical equipment. There are state and national grants that can be beneficial. The one thing that can be very tricky with grants is their application process is typically only a few times throughout the year, so you have to make sure you are applying at appropriate times. The other thing I've discovered after doing this for so many years is there are grants out there that I have never heard of. So if you are really active in your community and you're doing a lot, you might be able to uncover a grant that we don't even know about. Example of this is I worked with a young man who was a graduate of the University of Nebraska, and he was a gymnast. And because he graduated and he was an athlete, he was eligible for something called, I think it was called the Husker Greats Foundation. And he got his medical device covered completely through the Husker Greats Foundation. I didn't even know that existed. And in Pennsylvania, I also had another run-in with United Cerebral Palsy Foundation. I did not know that United Cerebral Palsy Foundation helped people with disabilities and just all kinds of conditions. So they had, for this young man who was also a gymnast, ironically, I didn't know that he would be eligible, but somehow his mom uncovered the fact that they had some funding available, but they said no one ever really knew that they provided services for anybody that didn't have cerebral palsy. So they also have grant options that could be available. I have a list of both national and state grant organizations in the state of Pennsylvania that could be helpful for you for this or for other things. So if you are interested in that as a resource, let me know and I can certainly send you that document afterwards. Fundraising is another option. Gosh, I know this can be a big no-go or a point of contention, I guess, for some people, and I understand it entirely. But as long as I've been advocating for spinal cord injury patients, I'm blown away by the generosity I see from community fundraising efforts. There are even some organizations that will help you organize fundraisers based on your community and kind of what's practical for what's going on there, so you can get the most out of the fundraiser. I worked with Help Hope Live. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. They've been great. And some other organizations similar to Help Hope Live in the past. Again, I can send you resources if you want. But the final thing I would just say about fundraising is I know it can be a bit unsettling to ask for help, but I think you would be amazed at how many people want to know what they can do to help. And they're just waiting on you to tell them what you need. I think I've encountered this more times than I can count. So I would encourage you to do it if it's something you really are passionate about getting. State programs, this is an interesting topic. So there's a lot of them. I've only listed a few here, but vocational rehab is probably the best one. And in the state of Pennsylvania, I've had great success with them for other things. So I don't know if you're familiar with vocational rehab, but they do a lot to keep individuals active and healthy so they can continue to go to work or school. So you can become eligible with them if you are currently working or going to school, or if you are considering going back to work or school. It's worth reaching out to them. They provide all types of services. So the biggest thing that they do is job seeking programs. They provide support services, assistive technology, which is where the ReWalk would fall if you're interested. They also do restoration services. But in my past experiences, I would say working with them, I've used them for a lot, but they have done hand controls for people, for vehicles. They have done equipment, specialized equipment, and just, so many other services. They've done workstations for people, laptops, all sorts of things. Waiver programs. I have not worked closely with a waiver program in the state of Pennsylvania, but I will tell you, I don't know if it's, so I can't really speak to if it's a good service or not, but I will say that the waiver programs that I've worked with in other states are not bad. And I'll just tell you the goal, if you're not familiar with a waiver program and what it is and what they can do, the goal of a waiver program is to accomplish various goals by expanding coverage for certain target groups. So such as spinal cord injury, elderly, pregnant women, etc. So basically, in a nutshell, they provide coverage of something that your traditional Medicaid may not. So if you have Medicaid, it may be worth talking with your caseworker or local Medicaid office to see if you qualify and which waiver program may be best for you. Crime victims. This program is designed to offer financial support and resources to those who were unfortunate victims of crime. So typically there are time limits for registering with the organization post-incident, but some states allow for registration up to 5 years past the date of the crime. I tried to find information for Pennsylvania so I could be a little bit more prepared for you guys if this is a service you could use, but unfortunately all the links on their website were broken. So I can't give you any specific information, but however, I will say this program is a really great resource in obtaining medical equipment, other needs that you have. They're a good resource, and sometimes they offer a decent amount of financial support for you. And lastly, I'll say the assistive technology loan program can be an option depending on your financial situation. I've had families use them in the past just for sometimes like they'll be able to fundraise for a certain amount and they just need a little bit more to get the piece of equipment they're hoping for. And so they just do the assistive technology loan for a portion of the cost. But I did look up the state of PA, and they do have a program, which is great because not all states offer them, but they do offer an interest rate around 3.75% currently. So it just depends on what your financial situation is and if this option works for you. So summing this up, I know this was a lot of information, but I really wanted to convey that wealth is not a predictor of who becomes a ReWalker and who doesn't. If you're motivated and you want to walk again, there are many avenues we can explore with you to help you obtain a ReWalk. But I think the motivation is the driver. So I know you guys know all too well probably for all the things you've probably had to advocate for and get throughout your journey, that the squeaky wheel gets the noise or gets the attention, as we know. So be an advocate for yourself and we'll help you along the journey. Another thing I wanted to share is that 200 ReWalkers have received their devices through like a third-party person. So it can be done, you know what I mean? It's not coming through insurance and they're not just paying out of pocket for it. Like they are finding other avenues for funding. So don't let that get in the way. Lastly, I wanted to talk about servicemen and women because there are a different set of options available for them. So we can talk a little bit about that. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the VA, and the VA does support the ReWalk device and has a standard operating procedure for vets if you're interested in the ReWalk. And they also have a positive coverage policy. So if you would like more information on that, I think the best way is to reach out to us. You can certainly contact me or Karen, as I mentioned, who I think is on the call. I'll share her information, but we can certainly answer any questions that you have and go about getting that. But the VA is very supportive of the ReWalk device. I also wanted to share that the Semper Fi Fund is a great resource for servicemen and women. Their mission is to provide care and support to combat wounded, critically ill, and catastrophically injured service members and their families They are typically offering services to like post 9/11 people. So, but they do a great job. I think this organization is amazing and not only helps the service member, but if you have a child or a spouse or a significant other that was injured, they will also offer services for them as well. So you don't necessarily have to be the injured party. So if you need information or want to know about how to register for them, they are amazing and they do everything they can to help support the need. So after going through all the resources, and honestly, I know that was a lot. So if you guys do want information or additional resources sent to you, I'm happy to send that. I have a whole template ready to go for anybody that wants it with resource information and links to specific foundations and grants and things like that. So if you do want that, just let me know. But after you've gone through that and you've secured a funding source and that's out of the way, the next step is congratulations, you're now a ReWalker. So what happens from there? The next step is to train at a partner facility. And I think we've discussed earlier that a partner facility is someone that's been ReWalk certified. We've trained them so they're familiar with how to use the device and the technology. And this is where we'll go through basic and advanced skills with the facility before taking your device home and using it in the community. We just want to make sure that you and your companion are fully competent on how to use the ReWalk and are comfortable with the functionality before becoming independent. So after you've done that and you get your ReWalk home, the service and support is pretty amazing. I mean, I haven't seen in all of my years, I think it goes above and beyond what I've seen any other company do. So the ReWalk has a 5-year warranty, and throughout that 5-year period, our service team will actually come to your home one time a year to perform regular maintenance and keep your ReWalk in good working condition. Also, any service or clinical support needs are typically addressed in a timely way. Usually, like, we'll get on the phone, we'll do FaceTime, we'll do remote video and meetings to address any clinical or technical questions. The other thing that I want to say is most of these things are addressed in, and I'd say 24 to 48 hours at least. And additionally, you get like a more active and healthy lifestyle, which we've kind of discussed earlier. And then the most important thing, which I think is the guts of what we do, is you become a part of our ReWalk community. So many of our ReWalkers participate in like our Facebook community, they share various stories, and it's not only related to the ReWalk, but the challenges and successes of life just in general. So similar to your support group, I would guess, they're just really engaging with one another. So I heard also that there's a 5K coming up, which some of our ReWalkers are participating in, using their ReWalk very soon. And like I said, as an organization, this is the guts of what we do. And it's to get people active and out in the community, improving quality of life and maintaining their health. I mean, that's what we're about. So also we call on our ReWalkers occasionally to support us in various marketing efforts to raise awareness. We ask them to participate in conferences. Sometimes we lobby for SDR rights on Capitol Hill and they'll come and support us. It's just such an amazing and engaging community. So that's something else to think about. So final thoughts, I would say that we talked about a good deal here, but the ReWalk is just, it's a well-documented, it's effective therapy. It's definitely evidence-based. There's lots of research to support why to use it. The training and customer support that we offer in the service, it's just it's paramount to what we do. It's part of our mission. So that's something else that we really pride ourselves in. There are many resources that are available to assist financially if you are really interested in getting one, but the financial status obviously is not an indicator. I want to really stress that the motivation is the key factor. So if you're motivated to get one, we'll do everything we can to help you and advocate for you. And if you're ready to take the next step and you think this is something that could be a tool for you, here's my contact information. Also, I mean, I am here now, obviously, with being quarantined at home. Um, there's lots of time to do talks and answer questions. So if you want my information, you can certainly reach out to me. Karen is also a great resource. Her name is Karen Leventhal. I can also share that with you. If you send me an email or want some more information, I can certainly send that. But yeah, if you want to reach out to me, please, I'm happy to answer questions and even take you through the process. So finally, I want to thank you all for taking your evening to learn more about ReWalk and what we do. Joe, I'm not sure if you're still listening, but I wanted to send you a huge thank you just for organizing the support group and everybody taking their time out of what seems to be just the crazy times right now and listening to more education on the ReWalk. It's really, really important to us that we just give you guys all the information to make the best decisions for your future health and continuum of care. So with that, I'll open it to any questions that you guys want to send my way now. There are some that have come in along the way, so I'll just go back and try to adjust those. I think I already answered that. Someone asked what the battery life is of the ReWalk. It's 3 hours of continuous walking.
And just to add to that, the battery life allows for 3 hours of continuous walking. This is Zach here, one of Charlie's colleagues. The battery also can maintain life for up to 8 hours in a given day. So if you're not using it continuously for 3 hours of walking, it should be sufficient to use it throughout the entirety of a day. If you're, using it 5-10 minutes at a time, sitting it back down, doing something else. So when Charlie's saying 3 hours, she's meaning of continuous nonstop walking.
Thank you, Zach. Someone also asked, what is the FDA approved level? It's T4. T4 level spinal cord injury. Do you have any experience using the ReWalk with individuals with spina bifida? I don't think so, but Zach, do you want to speak to that? I don't think we.
Sure, I can jump in again. The device is indicated for people with spinal cord injury primarily. So when we're thinking about spina bifida, it would technically be considered something off-label. So it probably would be better to table that conversation separately, just because people can present a little bit differently. So it's a little bit more off the books, but definitely worth further conversation.
How long does it take to set up? I think that varies. That's a good question. I think it varies per individual and like level of injury and all sorts of things. But I mean, on average, it's really just transferring into it and putting the straps in because it's already set up and customized for you, but just getting the straps on and transferring, I would say maybe 5 minutes max, if you can transfer pretty well on your own. Can you, so walking outside on stairs, that's a feature that has not been FDA cleared yet in the US. It is available in Europe, I believe. And so if you were to get a ReWalk and it does become something that's cleared down the track, it's just a matter of turning on a switch to allow it to be something you can do down the line if it becomes FDA cleared. So right now, no, is the short answer, but possibly in the future. I think Zach, someone asked about using it with MS. I think using it with multiple sclerosis, again, is a kind of an off-label use, but not totally out of the question. So if you want to talk about that, we can certainly talk about that I can reach back out to you with an answer for that.
And just to jump in, Charlie, what we look for, obviously we need to consider, clinical presentation, but also functional presentation. So when we're doing our screenings with people, we go in with the intent of understanding what are people capable of doing? How are they able to transfer from one surface to another? What's their lower extremity range of motion look like? How functional is the use of their hands? So when asking these questions that the distinction between one particular diagnosis or injury or kind of clinical presentation kind of starts to blend from one end to another. So, you know, the device is indicated for a particular subset of diagnoses. However, we do take the time to really dive into overall the functional level of the user. As to Charlie's point, you know, MS would be kind of a special case, but definitely worth kind of engaging in further conversation on.
Okay, thanks, Zach. I don't see any other questions.
I've been deleting them as you've been answering them. It looks like there's one on the pediatric population. Did you answer that?
Yeah. Oh, no. Are there any plans to develop a ReWalk system with pediatric population? I don't know. I don't think that's an R&D plan immediately, but I mean, I think definitely I see it. And I guess the challenge is like, how small is the kiddo? And could we get them to fit the current version? So it's more of the size of the kid, not necessarily that their age. So I guess that depends. So right now, no, there's not like a pediatric version in place, but they might be able to fit the current version depending on the size. Any other questions? I saw some things, hold on. Okay. Well, I wanted to thank you guys, obviously, for taking your time out of your day to listen to me ramble on. But I am very passionate about the technology and the device and the SCI community in general. And I just have so much passion for the advocacy and the work that has to happen there for the things that you guys need. So if you do have any other questions, I think, obviously, I have my contact information up there. I think you've got our phone number and any other resources and things that you need. If you want those resource sheets, like I mentioned, I'm happy to send you those by email so you can kind of work on any resources that you need for either this or for any other equipment needs. But thank you so much for taking the time, and best of luck to you guys in your rehab journeys.